Come, sit. We have an old story to uncover from the annals of time. Take a seat by the fire and let us remember the tale of the painted cloister.
Chapter 1 Humble Beginnings. It was early spring in the year 100 in the world of the enchanting dimensions, and one dwarf, a dim language paints, has been selected as expedition leader to set off with 6 others and colonize new land for our dwarven civilization we call the Fortification of Chewing. He and the others found a nice hilly region, nestled in between a valley of humans and a forest laden with elves, far, far away from the heart of our civilization. Thus the town of Painted Cloisters was born. The town, which at this point could scarcely be called just that, was dug under the surface and formed a small, sandy pit with enough space for workshops, beds, and storage to be etched out of, and where their first tavern was formed. For the first few years, all was well. Food was in short supply constantly, and come to mention it, so was the drink. But they survived. Not knowing how to farm sufficiently, the dwarves resorted to berry and nut picking to survive those first few years, harvesting barely enough to sustain the growing town. By year 4, the caravan of 7 dwarves has turned into a bustling town of 56. At this point, it was a race of infrastructure. Things were scarce, but good. Edim had managed to be elected mayor. The rest of the dwarves that came with him were in good health and busy making rooms, food, and drink enough for all. It was a busy, peaceful time. 1 or 2 giants wandered in, but were quickly dispatched by the military. The only other struggles were keeping food and drink supplies up with the population explosion that is quickly overwhelming the small, sandy hovel. And as much as I wish it stayed that way, after a while things changed for the worse. And that brings us into Chapter 2, The Bronze Menace. Late spring, year 108, population count 185. The Bronze Colossus, Sire, attacked. 50 of my best troops got ready to slay the beast, but they were slow to arrive, as no one was ready. All we had guarding the entrance to the hobbit hole of a kingdom was a few wooden fortifications and some wooden doors.
Essentially, A small, unfinished wooden fort, only 1 story high. A massacre was upon us. Charge!
In a quick turn of events, the Colossus was held in place outside the fort by a 3-year-old child for hours. He fought the 50-foot-tall bronze behemoth. He dodged, bit, scratched, and scraped. But alas, after hours of fighting, the bronze was too thick, and a well-timed punch sent the dwarven child flying, dying upon impact with a nearby rock face. The child's mother was nearby. She was the guard leader who was hastily trying to get their gear on while the child fought and held the giant for hours. He gave them enough time, but she was too late. She too fell in battle to the bronze Colossus, a fitting end for a mother trying to save her child. The troops had their time to equip thanks to that brave child soldier and his mother. And once they arrived, the battle raged on for days. The army cornered it and relentlessly beat and bludgeoned it with their iron spears, swords, hammers, axes, and maces. But alas, all but not of the attacks glanced off the bronze giant and merely dented it. The Colossus sent my troops dodging and flying, crushing limbs and armor like they were twigs or tin cans, until a fated moment when Sigurd Stabdoers, the maker of the artifact sword, Socket Breed, the artifices of confusing, came barreling in, wielding the great artifact skillfully, and in 2 swift movements, shattered the leg and cleaved the torso of the bronze giant in half, ending the 32-kill streak it had in our little town, and ending an ancient being's life for the safety of our peoples. 60 dwarfs were hospitalized, many no longer able to walk without crutches and maimed badly. But it was over, and we survived. That was the only kill that artifact weapon ever got, by the way, as it was stolen. More on that later. As we leave off Chapter 2, half of the fort is dead or dying. Despair is thick, and the morale of the dwarves is the lowest it's ever been. This concludes Chapter 2 of the Tale of Painted Cloister.